You should raise your kids in a way that they don't get employed. I will explain. But before that, let me ask you this. When you were a child, what did you dream you would become? For me, at first, I wanted to become a pilot because pilots are cool.
Let's fly away.
Then as I grew up, I wanted to be a cricket player. And as I grew up further, I wanted to be a video editor. But fast forward to 2022, I'm here sitting in front of my computer writing code. How many of you can wake up every morning and say, I love my life. I love how I feel this morning. And I can just wait to go to work. Can you? It was always told to us by our parents and teachers that if we study well, if we get good grades and pass out of college, we will end up having our dream job. And we listened. We went exactly as scripted. And still here we are, hating Monday mornings. Somehow pushing through the week to just get to the weekend. Where did it all go wrong? It may not be possible for us to go back to the past and reset our expectations. But what we can do is not let our kids end up in a similar state. If you are new here, my name is Shrejat, and in this channel, we talk about how to make, keep and grow your money and achieve financial independence. What's your earliest memory of money? For me, it's related to a religious festival in my hometown. So the tradition goes like this. On this day, all elders in the family have to give some amount of money to all those who are younger in age. So the idea here is that if you share your wealth with others, it will grow and multiply. And this was one of the days I always looked forward to as I was a kid. We weren't a rich family as such, so this was the only pocket money I used to get. And those times, the elders used to give $50, I think. And so considering my parents and all the relatives, I used to get $5 to $10. This may not seem much, but for me, that was like winning the lottery. And this payout has gone up considerably in the past few years. And kids nowadays easily get around $100 to $200. I guess inflation has caught up even on traditional Hindu customs. Anyhow, that money was a big deal. So on the previous night, before going to bed, I would think of all the things I could buy with this money. The next morning, I wake up early, sleepy but excited, and I show some extra respect to all the elders because money. And then by end of the day, I'm standing there with my handful of coins and I'm confused. I'm happy but confused. This money is not enough to buy everything on my list. And I don't have a clue on which one to prioritize. So what I do, I keep counting the coins, thinking that counting them again and again may somehow magically make them to multiply. And finally, I end up in a decision paralysis mode and hand over all my money to my mom to keep it safe until I am old enough to make the right choice. And I haven't seen that money again. Maybe my mom thinks that I'm still not old enough to make my own money decisions, and all my coins are kept in a secret treasure bunker under my house. What I am trying to say is, when it comes to money, it's always more confusion than clarity. In the school, we are taught various subjects such as social science, languages, natural science, mathematics, but how to make money, how to spend money, how to manage your own money, nothing. So it all finally comes down to our parents. And my parents taught me the importance of getting good education and getting a good job. And I am so thankful to them for that. But the teachings stopped there. So even until recently, when I get my paycheck, I still stay confused, like that 10-year-old me, thinking, am I efficiently making use of the money that I get? What do we do when we are confused with our money? We take the easy path. We use that money to spend on things that we don't need, to impress people we don't like. Because the other path is difficult. It's difficult because we don't know how to do it. And when we see rich, successful people efficiently managing and growing the money, we think, oh, they got rich. Lucky. They inherited all those wealth. Wrong. Totally wrong. The difference is that someone taught them how to deal with money early in their life. A study shows that people who learned about money as a child are 3 times as likely to have a personal annual income of $75,000 or higher than those who didn't. What parents teach their kids about money will make a difference between someone who eventually become wealthy and successful and someone who won't. So in this video, I'll give you 9 things you could do to raise your kids to be financially better off in their life. But keep in mind that I'm not a child psychologist or a financial advisor. I'm just a random dude on the internet who's trying to be less wrong today than I was yesterday. You are the only one who knows your situation and your kids better than anyone else. So take this information but make your own decisions. Many people consider money a taboo topic, even within our own homes. In many societies, making more money is thought as evil because you need to be selfish to build wealth. And the irony here is that everyone still wants to be rich. All these wrong ideas come from the belief that there is only a limited amount of money in the world, and if you want to put more money in our pocket, we have to take from someone else. What we have to understand is that money is only a resource or a tool to transfer value, and there is plenty around for everyone who wants it. And if used properly, it can help you to have options and a better quality of life. There is one thing that separates parents who are serious about raising their kids to be financially successful from others. They spend a lot of time explaining money matters to their children. They include topics such as saving, investing, budgeting in the conversation with kids. But we know how kids are. They don't always listen when we talk to them about the eating habits or studies or anything else that concerns them.
Listen. Okay.
And why should they do it now? That too for financial topics. The thing is, we shouldn't do it like a lecture. We shouldn't call our kid while he's busy playing and be like, "Hey son, come here. Today I'll explain to you what compound interest means." No, that's not how you should do it. Try to include bits and pieces of financial education along with other normal conversations you have with your kid. Be calm and respond to whatever questions they have. And if you are someone who is struggling with money management, you can also talk to them about the mistakes you made and how you are trying to overcome them so that they can avoid similar mistakes in their financial lives. And the topics you discuss should be in accordance with the child's age. If you have a teenage daughter, you can talk to her about the existing gender wage gap and teach her not to be afraid to ask for what she believes and deserves. Remember that it's never too late to talk about money. The habits they learn now will set the foundation for the entire financial future. But it's not enough to just talk to them about money. There is no guarantee that you will be taken seriously. So that's why it's very important to take this next step. We have to involve them in financial decisions in the family, especially those that are directly concerning them. For example, if your son wants to go for a school trip, ask him to list down an estimate of all the expenses for that day, from fares to food to ice cream. It need not be perfect, but only hand over the money once he has made a budget. By asking them to create and stick to a budget, you are teaching them one of the most crucial factors of good financial health. Never spend more than what you earn. They will understand the difference between necessary and nice to have spending. They will know that the afternoon lunch is important, but the evening ice cream maybe not that much. Although I would skip the lunch for that ice cream, but that's me. There is a very good point made in the book Unconditional Parenting by Alfie Kohn. I believe our default position ought to be let kids make decisions about matters that concern them, except when there is a compelling reason for us to override that right. It's important to experience a sense of autonomy, a feeling that we are the initiators of much what we do. In fact, the particular choices we make are often less significant than the act of choosing itself. The way kids learn to make good decisions is by making decisions, not by following directions. But all the talk and planning can help only up to a limit. Children cannot fully understand the concept of money until they have some of their own and put it into use. So you have to give them an allowance. You can do that at a fixed interval like once a week or once a month, or better as a payment for doing some household tasks such as cleaning their own room or getting groceries from the shop. Kids who have earned that money will be more mindful of how they spend it compared to just being handed over to them. Irrespective of how you get the money to your kids, if you don't set up a proper management mechanism, all that money might get converted into chocolates and toys. That's where money buckets come into picture. Almost everyone had a piggy bank at some point in their life. Have you ever thought what pigs have to do with saving money? And why pigs? Why not a puppy or a kitten? Here is the thing. During the Middle Ages, the supply of metal was limited and it was expensive. So in Western Europe, people made pots out of an orange clay called pike. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation, but it's spelled Pygg. And Along with other things, people also began to save small amount of cash in those spike pots because banks, let's say, were not very popular back then. You get where I'm going with this, right? Anyhow, coming back to our topic. As kids, we normally kept all our money in one piggy bank, but instead asked the kids to divide the money into 3 separate piggy banks or money buckets. One for spending, one for saving, and one for giving. The spending jar could be for candy or other small immediate purchases. The savings jar could be for costlier items that requires long-term savings. And the sharing jar is for charitable causes. And if they want to buy something, ask them how much money they got in their spending jars. Explain why they should be saving a little money for a bigger purchase or for the future, and help them to decide on how much to save and spend. Dividing the money like this will help them to learn about spending, money management, and other life values. Giving is also equally important as spending and saving. You should encourage your kids to take a portion of the money to help others or for causes that are important to them. And instead of blindly praising them for doing something generous, try to draw the attention on the effect of the action on the person they helped. Ask them questions like, how do you think that old homeless woman would have felt when you bought her lunch with your own money? Financial literacy is just the first step. We want our children to be prosperous, generous human beings who will solve the world's problems. All these are great money lessons, but there is one thing that rich parents teach their kids that poor doesn't. 99.99% of the world population thinks about money in terms of income and expenses. How much money you make and how much money you spend. The whole family budget, if one exists, is totally based on that. But 2 key parts are missing. They are assets and liabilities. And if you haven't heard about them yet, assets are those things that brings money into your bank account, and liabilities do just the opposite. They take money out of your bank account. For example, if you buy a house and rent it out to someone, then it is an asset that brings regular cash flow every month in the form of rent. Instead, if you buy a house to live in, it's a liability because it takes money out of your pocket every month. And another very important factor that should be considered along with assets and liabilities is debt. Debt is both good and bad depending on how you use it. Listen to this very carefully. Rich people use debt to buy assets that make money. For example, an apartment that generates rent or a business that generates revenue. On the other hand, poor people use their money to buy liabilities and go into debt, and they get more poor. And that's the same reason why many people who won the lottery go broke in 3 to 5 years. They spend all that money to buy luxuries and never think about assets. You will know you have achieved financial independence when you have enough assets working for you, so that you can stop working and still bring in enough income to maintain or even grow your wealth. And this is an important knowledge that you have to pass to your kids as early as possible. And whatever I explained until now will only help to manage the money, but it won't teach on how to make more money. And for that, luckily there is a better way than a 9-to-5 job. There is a script for life that we all know and execute perfectly. Go to school, then college, get good grades, graduate, get a 9-to-5 job, then get married, buy a house, have kids, save a percentage of your salary, invest in the stock market, max your retirement funds, and then someday, when you're like 65 years old, you'll be rich. And that is how 99% of the people grow and end up being. My mother is the most hardworking person I know. She worked on a day job from 9 to 5 and simultaneously managed a family with 3 kids. She kept working on that same job for more than 30 years. And at a time when unemployment was high and job security was the most important thing, that made total sense. But this traditional one job till retirement model is not working anymore and is probably not going to work in the future. I know it might be difficult to say this to your kids if this is what you have been doing all your life, but it's so important to get out of this denial mode and let your kids learn about entrepreneurship, to be an employer and not an employee. It's important to inspire them to go on alternative paths. I'm not saying that every kid should grow up to be an entrepreneur. Having your own business or making more money is not the only way to live a happy, content life. But our kids, they should have the options. They should at least know about the vast opportunities that lies in front of them. And your job as a parent is to open the doors for them. But to be a successful entrepreneur, you need one important skill. The one key skill that every parent should try to build in the kids from a very early age. solving other people's problems. That is the one and only way to make money. And the amount of money you make depends on how big the problem is and how much of value you can provide. You can see from the life of many successful millionaires out there that they were so effective in solving problems of the masses. In the early 2000s, the delivery time for online goods was so long, and this were making people so frustrated. Someone saw this as an opportunity and started a 2-day delivery for products. Now Amazon Prime delivery is so popular that it has become kind of a norm for the industry as such. Bezos identified the problem, offered solutions, and made millions. And your kid could also be the next Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs. Only if you can teach your kids to identify problems, see them as opportunities, and make them think about solutions. Just to give you one more example. As kids, we used to play with crayons, and a common problem was that the crayons used to break so easily, making them not usable. Cassidy was a young little girl when she was faced with the same problem, but she came up with an idea for an holder to hold the broken crayon pieces together. Her parents helped her file a patent in the year 2002 for her invention, and she also got a licensing deal a year later, which entitles her to get 5% on all the sales. So build the habit of identifying problems and thinking about solutions in your kids at a very young age. Eventually, that will get embedded in their DNA and will change how they look at the world. Making money is very important, but it is also important to grow your money and protect it from inflation. And there is a very easy way to do that. If entrepreneurship is important to earn money, investing is a key part of saving your money. I was fortunate to be introduced to investing as early as I started a job and started earning an income. My mother worked in the financial sector and she used to take care of my investments back then. And she still does that in whatever way she can. But this is something many people of any age doesn't know how to do. Because as I said earlier, we never had a chapter called investing back in the school. By the age of 9, children are usually beginning to use fractions and percentages. So that makes it a very good time to start teaching them about investing. If you are someone who has the investment knowledge yourself, then you can teach your kids about basic concepts like how money invested can earn a return over time. Or better, ask them to identify a brand or a company they are interested in. For example, Disney or the toy brand Hasbro, and then help them to invest a part of their own money in that company. And then watch them getting excited about how the money grows without doing anything. But like Rocky said,
the world ain't all sunshine and rainbows.
So that's why the next point is the most important one that you should teach your kids. Teach them to be ignorant, make mistakes, and learn from them. If you are an ignorant, you can never learn. So we have to teach our kids to accept ignorance. Tell them that not knowing is a good thing, and then guide them in the path of more knowledge. Help them to develop healthy habits to get information, like reading. I learned much about investing from books, and I got the courage to start a YouTube channel after I read the book Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. Books changed my life for the better, and they can do it for your kids too. But just like books, an equally good way to learn is by making mistakes. In school, we learn that mistakes are bad and we are punished for making them. But yet, if you see how humans are designed to learn, we learn by making mistakes. We learn to walk by falling, and if we never fell, we would never walk. Kids need to be encouraged to make mistakes, and they should know that making mistakes is not a big deal. So if you go for shopping, ask your kids to bring their own money and let them buy whatever they want. And if they buy something cheap and it breaks almost immediately, then they will learn from that and make wiser purchases in the future. And finally, all that we have talked until now is of no use if you don't follow this one last advice. Lead by example and show them how to be responsible with money. Pay your bills on time. Stop buying things that you don't need and accumulating crap. Be conscious about every purchase you make and think about why you are buying it. Are you buying it to show to everyone else, or are you buying it because you really want it and it will bring some value to your life? Children are always watching, even when you don't realize it. And what your kids see, they are likely to repeat. You can never teach your kids good personal finance if you don't practice it yourself. This world is not an easy place to be in, and your kids, they didn't ask to be here. So as a parent, it's your responsibility to be patient with them and help them become happy, successful human beings. And for that, you have to keep aside your needs and your fears and do everything possible in their best interests. And if you want to improve your financial knowledge so that you can pass it on to your kids, then you can watch this video where I explain the basics of stock market. Until next time, take care and bye.